Now that you've defined your research problem, your next step is to find out what others have said about similar problems. No sense reinventing the wheel. Let's see what's already out there. The data that you will accrue by virtue of your research is called primary data. The data that others have gathered is secondary data. Milestone 2 is to review the secondary data relevant to your research problem. This is often called a literature review. Remember the brick wall analogy from Milestone 1? I suggested that your research will not build the wall, but will simply be adding a single small brick to the wall. But you need to understand the wall to know how and where your brick fits. That's the purpose of the literature review. Let's go back to our airline employee satisfaction example. Before you design your research, you would want to look at secondary data on airline employee turnover rates. You'd want to look at different theories regarding human motivation and the drivers of employee satisfaction. You might want to look at airline bankruptcies and their causes, or union activity, strikes, and other examples of employee discontent in the airline industry. These are all examples of relevant secondary data that you would want to analyze before you create your research plan. Now, we live in an age in which we are drowning in secondary data because of the internet. So one of the big challenges you'll have will be to identify valid, reliable secondary data. You want to filter out the junk data and opinion. You need facts. The traditional measure of good data is that it has been peer-reviewed. Articles in academic journals, for example, have been reviewed by other content experts before being accepted for publication. Data from government agencies such as the Bureau of Labor Statistics or the Federal Reserve Bank or the IRS must be reviewed and approved by layers of content experts before it's published. This makes those kind of sources reliable. Internet blogs, Wikipedia, YouTube videos, etc. are not acceptable sources of secondary data for our purposes because anyone can pretty much say anything in those venues. So use the online resources at the Egan Library. Use JSTOR or Google Scholar. Use online data from government agencies and NGOs. Use published data from the company you're researching, or from relevant trade associations. These are all useful. Now, I've provided you with some literature review resources. Be sure to check those out. And be sure that you thoroughly read and understand the assignment to make sure you earn maximum points for this milestone. As always, ask questions if you have any. You'll learn a lot about your subject in this milestone. Have fun.